Today we're sitting down on the porch with Doreen, a QHS member whose life is as heartwarming as a home-cooked meal. What paths did she follow to get to where she is today? Let's take a stroll down memory lane and see what's been cooking behind the scenes.
Hi, my name is Doreen, and for the past 21 years, I've been struggling with type 2 diabetes, mainly elevated blood sugars, and the ability not to be able to walk as far as I have wanted to in the past, and just have the capability of what God has given us and provided us. I have not been able to always walk a clear path every single way, and it also has affected my vision and other areas of the body, like long-term infections. A lot of this went away when I had found the proper nutritional diet program, which is a little bit different than what people would expect. And a little bit towards the end, I had to have some surgery done on the toes to correct the ingrown toenail problems that I have had. Not as often over the years, but they started to increase as I got older in the last several years because of having to use different shoe boots to be able to walk in to do the tasks at hand. And about, I want to say in 2018, I started the process of reversing type 2 diabetes in that case. But the challenges that were left behind was the surgery on the toes. They poured some type of chemical on it so that they could destroy the nail bed, and it was very painful. And I didn't want to have to live with that, along with not being able to locate my glasses either. So I want my eyesight to improve to 2020. A little bit has progressed. I'm hoping for a full-blown 2020 by the time this is over. And the nail beds to be fixed, to restored, so I don't have to worry about that issue anymore. And right now I'm walking about 4 miles per day, 2 miles back and forth to different places, which is a good thing, without too much, hardly any struggle with using the QT Wave device that I have now. But I'm hoping that by the end of this, that the rest of the things will come to fruition. And that is all I have for today. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Doreen, and I just thought that I would start my first days today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how I came about finding out about QHS quantum healing systems. I was in the middle of doing some research from 2020 on, and I ran into a group called MedBeds. And then from there, I was able to find quantum healing systems. Now, in my beginning days, it was, my childhood was pretty protective, even though I did have some bullies in the earlier part of my life because I lived in a city that sort of had a little bit of little punky street gangs. Didn't know how serious things could get in the immediate area until years later, but I grew up as the youngest with 3 other siblings, and some were a little bit older than myself, where one was already out of the house while the rest of us grew up together. I was the closest to my sister and my mother. And as you can see in these videos, I have pictures of them along with one of my nieces, Rachel. And what brought me here was I pretty much have had some kind of diagnostic since birth. The first one was pulmonary stenosis, which is just a light narrowing of the valves, so sometimes it's hard to pump the blood. But I had such a mild case of it that it didn't require any medication or anything like that. But I do remember having to go get my vaccines and booster shots when I was a child. It was just automatically routine and assumed that I had to get them. But every single time I got really sick after it, I didn't really notice it at first until a little bit later. As a matter of fact, my last vaccine was to get into college back in the late 80s, and that was it. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, mainly started out in the 70s with the little bell-bottom pants and everything, and then got into the 80s. So the only case was the pulmonary stenosis and also a little bit of the allergies, especially in allergy season. And sometimes breathing used to be very labored. Then probably within my younger adult years, I started to notice that I was kind of getting tired a lot and getting fatigued a lot and didn't know quite where it came from. I used to think that I could eat a lot of the sugary stuff for a while and I would be fine and still be buzzing with energy. But then probably in my young 20s, I had the diagnosis first of prediabetes, but then it became full-blown later on with blood sugar numbers all the way up to 400. And my average A1C used to be like 9.1. I was pretty close. I didn't have any other complications other than some of the challenging ones that would come in between that would affect the body. It wasn't considered to be autoimmune, but later on they wanted to consider it to be autoimmune because I got reaction to a couple of things, especially when it came to specific meats and certain foods. I just had a low tolerance for it. They would call it glucose intolerance, but I think there was something else within it that was troubling me, and then I found out about what all entailed in the standard American diet. But I also thought that there was something else a little bit different as well, which is what led me to quantum. It provided me with a lot of interest because they also worked with stuff. The doctor himself worked for a very long time with cellular level healing. Now, there is cellular level nutrition too, and that is what I had come upon in my probably around 2017, because things were starting to get out of hand and I wanted to have a little more stability with everything. So I went back to the doctors then, but I ended up going to one who did reversal of 7 different chronic conditions that she had. She was able to reverse them all, and I went from there on the not just the nutritional piece, but also physical movement and meditation stuff. Well, here I decided to become and train as a health coach myself to try to help other individuals come to terms with everything, because there's a lot more involved than just nutrition. There's also being raised in a family that's so used to tradition that they start wondering why you're not eating certain foods because it's a tradition, even though they may be bad for you. Maybe they're not. But in our particular case, they're bad for some particular reason. There's just something within them that we don't like. And there was an absence of nutritional supplements that you can't get from the regular foods because the soil has always been tarred, or shall I say, depleted. And then you don't absorb the vitamins and the nutrients like you used to be able to. Well, from a different approach, Quantum Healing Systems has discovered that there's certain things that there's something more that goes on. And I was able to proudly wear some of these pocket healing devices. And in the latest one, I noticed a tremendous difference in it, even though it's not the final one. I do like the V6 at this point because I found a lot of difference in my ability to be able to move more. And what I mean by that is when I was a full-blown diabetic and had all these increasing numbers, I did have walks to go on, but I could barely make it. I was always breathing heavy, and I would have to turn around and give up after maybe 20 minutes. Well, now I'm finding out that I can walk even further, and I've been around town without feeling sore afterwards. I used to feel sore a whole lot. Used to get all these cramps and everything, and now I'm not feeling that. There's a few other things that I'm still working on, which is why I'm going for this V9 test. And I hope that everything is going to be very successful. It seems like it's going to. I hear a success story so far, but I know that we need to make testimonies out of it, and I'm willing to do that for QHS.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.